Wilbur Byron Dean Maris took what he was given and made a great life with it. When he was born, he might not have been in the best circumstances, but he managed to have a good life come out of it. I chose to make this video about my great-great-grandfather because he is an extraordinary man who I and many others should look up to. When I first started learning about him, I didn't know much, but now I have learned a great deal and have gained more respect for him with each detail I acknowledge. In this presentation, I will share with you what I have learned about him and who he was. Wilbur Byron Dean Maris was born on April 7, 1918 in Jacksonville, Florida. He was born to his mother, Helen May Bailiff, and his father, Charles Wentworth Dean. When he was 3 years old, his mother passed away, leaving his father to take care of him and his two older brothers. His mother passed away while having a baby. His father worked at a shipyard, and they lived in a tent by the shore. His dad would send him to a daycare where a black nanny would take care of him while his father worked. His Aunt Hazel and Uncle Joe were the Andersons. They had two kids, Bob and Virginia, back when he lived in Florida. He played with them and stayed with them even more after his mom died. One time, Uncle Joe's sister, Esther Maris, came to visit from Iowa. Esther Maris and her husband, Doc Maris, asked if he would like to come to Iowa with them for a little while. They were not able to have children for themselves, but they wanted to. They offered to adopt Wilbur and give him a better life. They were very wealthy, and Wilbur's father was not. His father agreed, and he went to live with them. He now started living in Sioux Center, Iowa. His new parents were William and Esther Maris. Doc Maris was a doctor and the adoptive father of Wilbur Byron Dean Maris. He was very popular in Sioux Center, Iowa, and somebody wrote him this poem. I thought that it would give you a good idea of the type of guy that he was, so I'll read it to you. William Maris, M.D. Where lives the doctor, 6 foot tall, who knows man, woman, child, y'all? O'er the hills and dales of Sioux, and when they're sick we'll see 'em through, who buys a new car every year, and keeps G.L. Klein ever near, to pilot him through mud and slush, and 10-foot snowbanks with a rush. And when the roads a bottom lack, drives in on the great northern track, who for the gravest human ills dispenses powders, potent pills, and cures the old maids when they snore, and welcomes babies by the score, whose wife in drama does fine things, and also like an angel sings, where dwells this pair of just renown, Sioux Center, that clean, busy town. In school, he was very good at math, and he enjoyed it. He played the trumpet in band and was also in choir. He attended Grinnell College after high school. After college, he served 2 years in the Navy. He was a pharmacist during the Navy, which worked out because after the war, he worked with his father in medicine. Wilbur met his wife in the choir in high school. Margaret Christine Moeller was her name. They got married in Las Vegas while they were living in Tahonga, California. They spent their honeymoon having a great time in Las Vegas. His wife and him bought a Western auto store and later turned it into a bike shop. They had 3 kids together. The oldest was Linda, middle was Wayne, and youngest was Mark. Some things he would always pass down to his children were to never buy something you don't have the money for and always keep God first in your life. They would take great road trips as a family where they would visit family in Iowa each year. His kids loved visiting their cousins each time they went. Margaret loved to cook, so they would always invite family over to celebrate holidays with. On the left, you can see Wilbur holding his oldest child, Linda, and on the right, you can see Wilbur and Margaret's wedding photo. Eventually, Wilbur started noticing a need for a mobile locksmith. He decided to open a business of one and got all locked and loaded with supplies. His employees and him had 2-way radios to communicate with each other. He bought a couple of vans and started it up. The business took off. It was going very successfully and it was a great idea. He hired his son, son-in-law, and grandsons to help with the business. He would go on these missions with his wife, Margaret, and it made him very happy. The missions were for deaf and mute children in Mexico. After his wife and him retired, they spent a lot of time at these missions. They would just help out around as best as they can.
Margaret would work in the kitchen or help with the laundry, but Wilbur did whatever people needed help on, kind of like a handyman. When they first started helping at these missions, they only knew enough Spanish to get them by, but before long, they were able to speak fluent Spanish and even communicate with the children in sign language. Like all great stories, they come to an end. On October 18th, 2011, the Lord took Margaret to be in heaven with him. Wilbur was upset that the Lord didn't take him with him, but it wasn't his time yet. He was lost for a long time and fell into sadness, but he managed to struggle to live on for a while longer. Eventually, almost 3 years later, God took him with them to heaven. Wilbur Byron Dean Maris died on October 9th, 2014. Even though he is gone now, he will not be forgotten. Thank you.